Okay, let's unpack this. Today we're doing a deep dive,
Right.
focusing on just one source, a film review. It's by Mary Munoz from Moviescramble, and it's all about the film Edge of Summer.
Lucy Cohen's film.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And our mission really is to get inside this one perspective, see the film through the reviewer's eyes,
Pull out the key ideas, what surprised them.
and see what you can maybe learn about the movie just from this take.
And right off the bat, the review sets this scene, this feeling, that early 90s summer nostalgia.
Oh yeah, it mentions staycations.
Ugh.
That time before phones and the internet were everywhere.
Right, when summer days just felt endless. Playing outside until you were called in.
Totally. Remember to just be outside till dark. Maybe you had like a $5 for sweets, probably stuffed in a bum bag.
Definitely. That mix of, real freedom, but also, let's face it, sometimes total boredom, especially with British summer weather.
Yeah, the rain. So the reviewer uses that feeling, that specific vibe, to kind of frame the film. So it touches on that.
It sets a mood, yeah. Even if the film itself maybe goes somewhere different.
So this is Lucy Cohen's second feature film.
Mm-hmm. And Mary Munoz, the reviewer, seems to think that nostalgic start works, even if she has some issues later on.
Okay, so let's get into the film's setup, according to the review. What's the basic story Evie walks into?
Well, you have Evie, played by Flora Hilton. She arrives on the Cornish coast with her mom, Yvonne. That's Josie Walker.
And the hope is for some, quality mother-daughter time.
That seems to be the plan. But, uh-oh.
Things get complicated pretty quick for Evie, right?
They do. This family friend, Tony Stephen Rodri, plays him. He shows up.
And it sounds like he's not really there for Evie.
No, the review is pretty clear. He's there to take up Yvonne's time for, the review calls it altogether more adult reasons.
Ah, right. So Evie gets sidelined.
Basically, yeah, she's, quote, shipped off to play. And that's how she bumps into Adam, who's played by Joel Sifton-Aongi.
Okay, and this connection with Adam, that sounds like a turning point.
It really seems central to the review's focus. Adam starts telling her about local stuff, Cornish folklore, and kind of crucially, he shows her an abandoned tin mine. Classic kids' adventure spot.
Yeah, the sort of place you dare each other to go into. Now, the reviewer makes a really important point here, though.
What's that?
It's not just a nostalgia trip. Despite the setting, the review stresses this isn't some simple, wasn't the past better kind of movie.
No, not at all. And what's interesting is how the review points out it's really exploring themes like loss and grief growing up.
Right. It takes that childhood innocence the review mentions, bedtime stories, and kind of crashes it against the messy reality of, life.
Exactly, the struggles of growing up.
And you see that mix straight away with the folklore Adam shares, the story of the knockers.
Yeah, he tells Evie about these little gnomes. They're supposed to knock inside the mines to warn miners if there was danger.
Classic local legend. A bit spooky.
Mm-hmm. A touch of the uncanny.
And that leads directly into something the reviewer describes as flirting a little with the horror genre.
Right. So Adam and Evie, they go exploring in this mine, and they hear knocking.
Like the knockers.
Maybe. But then they hear something else. A voice. A man's voice sounding like he's trapped.
Ooh, okay. So that's where the horror tease comes in.
That's the sequence Mary Munoz points to, yeah. Teasing something potentially supernatural.
But, okay, reading the review closely, it seems like that's not where the real, the deep unease of the film actually comes from.
No, the reviewer suggests the real horrors, or maybe the real difficulties, are less conventional.
So what are they then? Where does that discomfort come from?
It's more about the real world stuff they're dealing with. Both Adam and Evie, they're growing up without their fathers around.
Ah, I see. So there's this shared background, this kind of hidden weight they both carry.
Exactly. A significant burden for kids that age.
And the adults aren't exactly models of stability either, based on this review. Yvonne, the mom.
No, Mary Munoz describes her as being really bright and breezy in public. Full of giggles and smiles, I think was the phrase.
Right.
But then when she thinks no one's looking, she's apparently close to some sort of nervous breakdown.
Wow. That's quite a contrast.
It is. And the review sums it up with this line. Even during the summer holidays, life can be cruel. Which, really cuts against that sunny, nostalgic vibe.
Yeah, that contrast feels key to the reviewer's whole take. Nostalgic setting, harsh realities underneath, and they give massive praise to the young actors for carrying this complexity.
Oh yeah, they're called quite remarkable. Flora Hilton, who plays Evie, is described as seeming much more naive than her 12 years.
How?
The review mentions details like her wearing frilly party dresses, fiddling with friendship bracelets, glary hair clips. She's still quite childlike.
Okay.
She's apparently genuinely shocked when she sees teenagers kissing, gets mocked for it, and seems totally unaware of her parents separating, clinging to her mom like a much younger child.
Interesting. And the reviewer liked her performance style.
Yeah, they praise her deliberate hesitancy, calling it very engaging.
And what about Joel Seftonangi as Adam? What did the review say about him?
He gets credit for capturing that angst and frustration of prepubescence perfectly.
That tricky age.
Totally. The reviewer sees him as sort of straddling the line, still half believing in fairy tales, but also just angry at everything.
Right.
And they say his performance has emotional notes that are very layered and seasoned, which sounds like high praise for a young actor.
It does suggest real depth. So it's definitely a coming-of-age film then.
Clearly.
But the review suggests it maybe avoids the cliches.
Absolutely. It's presented as a coming-of-age story where the kids start to see that being an adult.
Well, it can be complex and miserable.
Ouch.
Yeah. And the review specifically points out what's missing. Like, no taking off the grasses to reveal a great beauty or justice for the underdog. It sounds much more grounded.
It's messier.
Definitely messier. Okay, now here's where the review takes a turn, maybe. Despite praising the themes, the performances, Mary Munoz feels the film falters, says it loses its way near the end.
That's right, towards the third act, yeah. The review uses words like muddled and murky to describe the narrative.
So that potential horror element, the voice in the mind, what happens with that?
According to the reviewer, it just peters out like a dropped thread, which sounds frustrating.
Yeah, if you built that up. And what else contributes to this feeling of the narrative getting muddled?
Well, they mention a jarring shift in focus, like a scene with Yvonne and Tony that's described pretty bluntly. Unceremoniously railed by a sweating, cream-loafered Tony.
Whoa, okay. That sounds like a tonal shift.
It does. And then there's Adam finding out his mom has been lying to him about his father's whereabouts.
So big revelations, but maybe not handled smoothly.
That seems to be the reviewer's feeling, that these moments, while potentially significant, kind of derail the focus established earlier.
Right. And how does all this impact the ending? For Mary Munoz, at least.
Well, she acknowledges that not every movie needs a neat little bow tied on it.
Sure.
But she feels the approach here ends up feeling a little too scattered. The main criticism seems to be it doesn't deliver the emotional payoffs that you thought the film might have been headed towards.
So, potential was there, but the execution in the final stretch undercut it.
That's the sense you get from this review, yeah. The choices made sort of diluted the emotional impact.
Okay, so let's try and sum up the specific perspective from Mary Munoz. What are the big takeaways?
Well, the film definitely gets points for nailing that early 90s nostalgic atmosphere and for exploring those vaguely dangerous things kids do in the summer.
The core themes are strong, too.
Yeah, the examination of grief, loss, that burgeoning threat of adulthood. The reviewer thinks that's well done, but feels it could use a little more fleshing out, maybe, to really hit home.
Got it. And the biggest strength, consistently mentioned.
The two young leads, Flora Hilton and Joel Seftonangi. Their performances are singled out again and again as remarkable.
Right. And just for context, the review mentions this film was screening at the Glasgow Film Festival in 2024. And the reviewer, Mary Munoz, she's the editor at Moviescramble. Her interests are listed as pretty broad European cinema, thrillers, musicals, classic Hollywood, plus pizza and power ballads, apparently.
Well, that certainly gives you a flavor of the person behind the review, doesn't it? Helps frame where she might be coming from.
It does add a bit of color, yeah. Whose perspective we're hearing.
Absolutely.
So wrapping up this deep dive into Mary Munoz's review, it paints a picture of a film, Edge of Summer, that really leans into those nostalgic summer vibes. Uses folklore, interestingly.
Right, but sets that against some pretty harsh, messy realities about growing up, grief, adult problems.
All carried by what sound like really strong performances from the young actors.
Definitely. But for this reviewer, at least, the way the story develops, especially in the third act, those narrative choices kind of muddied the waters.
Yeah, prevented it from maybe landing the emotional punch it seemed to be building towards. Didn't quite stick the landing, perhaps.
That seems to be the overall assessment here. Strengths, but flaws in the final execution.
Okay, so let's leave you, the listener, with a final thought, really drawing from that contrast the review highlights. Think about this. The film, as seen by Mary Munoz, juxtaposes simple childhood folklore, like the knocker's warning of clear dangers, with the much more confusing, often unresolved problems of the adult world these kids are just starting to glimpse. Does that idea resonate with you? That real life, unlike maybe folklore or simple stories, rarely gives you neat endings or clear answers. Does that make stories that reflect that messiness feel more true? What do you think?
Something to ponder.